Hi there, I'm guessing you're here because you're wondering if you can cook that meat that you forgot to take out of the freezer in the Instant Pot without defrosting it first. Good news, the answer is yes, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how. Okay, so how many of us, especially us busy parents, have had the best laid plans? We stock our freezer with meat when it's on sale or just because we don't want to have to run to the store, and then it comes time for dinner and we've completely forgotten to actually defrost the meat. Me, like 27 times. When people ask me, is an Instant Pot worth it? That's actually one of the major use cases that I share, that the Instant Pot is amazing because it can cook meat from frozen. So normally if you wanted to cook these frozen chicken thighs for dinner, you'd have to defrost them in like a cold water bath. Some people do it in the microwave, which starts pre-cooking it, and I'm not a huge fan of that. And I often get the question, well, could I throw frozen meat into my slow cooker? The answer is the only way to safely cook meat from frozen is in the Instant Pot. And the reason for that is because the Instant Pot is working at a higher heat and it's using pressure to raise the temperature of everything that's inside of the Instant Pot. It is the only safe way to take something from frozen to cook without defrosting it first, because then it doesn't sit in that temperature danger zone. So this is a super simple method I'm showing you today that you can adapt in all kinds of ways for cooking meat from frozen in the Instant Pot. Like I said, I have about a pound of frozen chicken thighs here, and that's what I'm going to be using because I love to cook frozen chicken thighs just really simply in the Instant Pot with some water and then shred them up and then use them in like chicken salads or enchiladas. So you can use it all different ways, especially if you keep the flavors really neutral. And I'm going to tell you as I go along how you can cook some different meats and also how you can flavor this up if you like. Other meats that are good for this technique that I've had success with, you can do a whole chicken this way. You could do some ground beef, although you'll want to like break it up with like a masher or one of those cool meat breaker uppers. I'll link to it in the comments. If you do ground meat, you could also do like beef that you'd like to shred. You could do that this way. Just note that you are going to need about a cup of water to get this to come to pressure, and so it's going to be more of a saucy meat. You're not going to get like browned ground beef out of this technique. Sometimes people get confused about that. So I'm just putting a pound of these frozen chicken thighs and 1 cup of water. You could use chicken broth here. You could put in a tablespoon or 2 of seasonings. You could also cut down the liquid. You could use half a cup of water or broth, and then you could put like half a cup of buffalo sauce, salsa, tomato sauce, depending on how you want to use the chicken. But like I said, I'm going to keep this really neutral so I can use it different ways throughout the week. One other thing to note is that if you wanted to add like 2 or 3 pounds of chicken, I know a lot of people like to cook this up at the beginning of the week when they think of it, then you don't need to add more water. So a cup of water is fine for any of those amounts. The water is just what's going to help the Instant Pot come to pressure. So you don't need to increase the amount of water. You just need to make sure you have at least a half a cup. I like a cup of water to keep everything really moist in there and to also get the Instant Pot to not burn. So we're going to put the lid on and make sure that the top is at sealing. And then I'm going to do manual. So normally chicken thighs would take about 10 minutes in the Instant Pot. I'm going to do 12 minutes, so I'm adding 2 minutes since it's coming from frozen. So it's going to go 12 minutes at pressure, and then I'm going to let it naturally release for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to open up and shred the chicken, and I'll show you what that looks like at the end of the video. All right, so it's been about 24 minutes. That accounts for the time that it takes to come to pressure. And one thing I just want to mention, if you haven't worked with the Instant Pot a lot, is that you do need to account for the time it takes to come to pressure. And when you're cooking from frozen, it can take more time for it to get to pressure. So this was about 7 minutes to get to pressure, and then 12 minutes of cooking under pressure and 5 minutes natural release. And it actually just naturally released all the way. Otherwise I would have moved this from sealing to venting. I like to use some tongs. Open it up. Whew. Okay. So we have our now cooked meat in here. So I'm gonna pull some of that out. Put this to the side. And just show you what I do. You pull it out of there. If you didn't season it already, this is a chance for you to kind of like toss it with, if you're making chicken salad with some mayonnaise and seasonings, you can toss it with buffalo chicken. And I just like to use 2 forks if you're doing a really large volume, if you did 3 pounds, you could also throw this into a stand mixer with a paddle, and that shreds the meat really nicely. And then you can use this in chicken salads, in enchiladas, and all the things that I shared with you earlier. If you liked today's video and you're interested in cooking more with the Instant Pot, I think you'll love my video on the Instant Pot pros and cons. I share in a lot of detail the different things that you need to know to cook successfully with the Instant Pot, and you can check that video out here.